Hello, humans. Welcome to the M Word podcast. Brought to you by Martin. That's me.
And Matt.
That's him. Hello, Matt.
Man.
Long time.
Yeah, good to be back.
Stupid COVID. Stupid lockdowns. Today we're joined, well, first of all, we're recording live on Facebook.
Yep.
So you might be listening to this on a podcast. You should be on our YouTube channel as well. But we're joined by Jamie and, Michael, Mickey. What do you prefer? Mikey,
anything.
Mr. Evans.
I've been called.
We'll get that story in a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down, guys. Obviously, we were due to catch up like 6 or 8 weeks ago now, and that never quite happened because of dirty COVID. So appreciate your patience in coming down. We thought it might be a really interesting chat. I think we first met a year ago when you guys kindly got involved with Not the TT, with the charity that I can't do a little bit of work with. And this is something that I've been thinking about since then, to chat about, obviously, TT, because everyone loves to talk about the TT from the Isle of Man. Obviously, your experience in it, due to eventually, hopefully, get to it, if again, that damn COVID. So I thought it might be a good conversation around the experiences that you've had, that you're going to have, and someone who's going to go into the sport or into that event, and how I imagine you're massively looking forward to it. But maybe just before we do that, a couple of shout outs. First of all, just to our listeners, watchers, viewers, hello. Go through a back catalogue. So obviously here we're going to talk quite a bit about the TT and the scratching dog in the background. But if you go through our back catalogue, we've got chats with Steve Parrish, who we all know from the BBC, David Knight, who we're all really jealous of his massive forearms. If you want to try and, have you seen the size of it? Oh, I'm sure you have, haven't they? They are massive. And he was like, oh, they're not as big as they used to be. And I was like, Jesus. It makes the Rock look small. Mr. TT, Paul Phillips, we had a good chat with him as well and his role in the TT. And then a really interesting chat with Connor and a gentleman called Richard Slee, who both had big accidents. Obviously, one we've all seen Connor's head rolling down the veranda, and then Richard's, who was, just on a tram over here, and they just talked about the trauma and their rehab and how they both dealt with it. And I thought it was a really interesting chat by the guys to sort of dig into how they dealt with that. So that's in our back catalogue if you want to go for a rummage around that. So let's get to know you guys a little bit more first. So just some general questions. Best TT rider in your opinion? Present company accepted, obviously, Jamie. Best TT rider? Any generation? Very wide question.
At the minute, I would say Peter Hickman.
Again, apart from yourself, obviously.
It's a tough one. There's been a few. McGuinness, I think.
Yeah. Smooth. Consistent.
Yeah, consistent. Never. Well, no moments that anybody's seen anyway. Yeah, just controlled. Do
you think Hickman's controlled when you watch him?
Yeah, he is, to be fair.
Right. Again, as someone, you see him sideways quite a lot, but I guess that's all part of the.
Yeah, I think that's control. Yeah, I don't think it's a slide as in a moment. I think it's a power slide.
Right.
Which is normal. I guess it's normal for him. I'm not sure.
You see him coming into Conkerfield sideways. I'm not so sure.
And so when you were saying there before we start recording about onboarding, are those the sort of guys that you would then generally look for on those? Is that how you do it? You go on YouTube or their stuff and look at their stuff?
Before I did it, I kind of built up. So that kind of speed is pointless to look at because it's not realistic. Right. So you kind of have to this kind of speed that you're realistically going to be doing. I think. Right,
so you'll find on board.
Yeah, because what he's doing is it's not even in the same world as what you'd even be doing. So
right.
Like before I did the one, I watched Malachi Mitchell-Thomas. So that was quite a good one. I watched that thousands of times, so many times. And then after that, the year after was Cameron Donald, both on a 600, because on a big bike, it's different gearing and different things. And obviously, like if you watch John McGuinness doing 130 miles an hour, when you're realistically just kind of trying to do 120 on a 600, it's not the same thing. So it's just being kind of realistic with what you're watching to what you're going to realistically be doing.
Do you do are you doing the same as part of your? You watching Mikey's?
Yeah, I've watched. I've not even got any.
Start sending them WhatsApp saying you were a bit slow around the QB, weren't you?
Yeah, I've got loads.
I've watched the Malachi one quite a lot as well, and Cameron Donald one, obviously that I'm going to be absolutely nowhere near there. But there's, like Mikey said, there's like gear ratio on the footage. So, and there's like brake pressure, throttle. So you can all
like stats.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can see it, everything what's going on, and then roughly to sort out what gear where you need to be where, basically.
Obviously, being a Manxie, you know the course. Do you ever just one Sunday go, I'm going to go for a drive around?
I used to do quite a lot of laps when back, well.
And you got your driving license and
your
souped up Subaru.
No comment.
No comment on that.
Oh, right, okay, right.
But yeah, I used to do a lot, and then I lost my license.
You could
Oh, right, okay.
weren't you?
A little bit, yeah. But I got it back just over a year ago now. And I did quite a lot. I did a few laps with, quite a few laps with Nathan Harrison throughout the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, right. What about you, Mikey? Driving around? Not so much now.
Yeah, I think I did quite a few coming up to my first Manx.
Having done the Manx, then going back to drive on those roads, do you look at the roads differently?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing. I just flick onto a different mood.
Do
you know,
I don't so you don't want to go down your Bedford van at 150 down Bray Hill.
It's like, I'll just go around a corner. You're like, but then you think like it's pretty mad that how fast you go around this. But obviously, living over here is an advantage to a point. But you never go through those corners at that speed. So it's kind of like it is an advantage because I know what's coming up, but you don't know how to go around that corner.
Because you're not
doing that kind of speed. So yeah, I did a bit of driving around, to be fair, before, but like now not so much because it's not really going to help me. It's not really. It was more to be like 100% sure of what's coming up next. Whereas now, it's not really going to help me. That's not what I need to get quicker. If you know what I mean. But maybe I will
drive down the QB now and then. New smooth tarmac.
I might have to come next year because I've got which way to go.
Hopefully, there's no cones down there by then. Best short circuit, favourite short circuit?
I've not done that many, to be fair. Alton Park, I really like. Cadwell, I've only been to once, but I did really enjoy that. So I'd probably say Alton Park.
What about you, Jay?
I've not done many myself either, but I would say probably Cadwell.
Right. I think what's wrong with Derby Airfield?
Bit rough.
It's interesting actually. We're quite interested while we've got some red lighting in here, but we turn the lighting off. This is just Jamie's suntan Derby today. There's lighting up the room. There's no red in the room.
No, to be fair, a lot of people slate Derby, but I think it's good as a track because it's a bit weird and not weird, but there's different things on it which you kind of there's fast corners, relatively slow corners. And it is bumpy, so it kind of, there's different things that you have to learn how to ride and stuff. It's not just flat surface. It's not that simple of a track to ride either. To be quick around either. It's it's a bit small and stuff, and obviously the lines of where you go and stuff. It could be better, but it's definitely not the worst.
Have you got the third way around there either?
Clockwise, which is right-handers.
Yeah, I'm right-handed as well, I'd say. It's a bit more flowing.
Right.
And you don't have to go through the start-finish chicane, and it's a bit scary, that is.
Oh, yeah, because someone was killed there, weren't they, going through
there? Yeah. So it's just because, obviously, you've only got the cold tyres, so going the other way, you've only got the bus stop, which, obviously, I wouldn't want to crash there either, but it's not 100 and, what is it, like?
I think it's just over 100. Look,
it's fast
right
anyway.
This day, and it's just over 100 through there.
Do you not have your speedos on at all when you race?
No.
Don't want to know.
No,
definitely don't want to know. I had the onboard for my junior race at the Manx, and it's got the speed on it, but it's like slow corners. So slow corners at the TT or Manx, whatever. But it's like 90 miles an hour. And you're like, that's not 90 miles an hour because it's the speed from so fast to so slow. It might be like 60, but even 60, like. That's not 60 miles an hour corner.
Right.
Because that's a slow corner. I think it was like Waterworks 2, which is like, seems like a slow corner, and it's saying on the telemetry like 60 miles an hour, and I was like, that is, I don't, because you think if I crashed here, I don't want to crash here, but it wouldn't be that bad. But like 60 miles an hour, I don't want to crash at all, but it's just a bit of a different different thing. But yeah, no
I
speedos.
take you don't have them on then because of that. Is that it's a distraction or something where you're playing in your mind?
It's
It's just that
distraction,
extra where you want to concentrate in.
People just don't run them. I don't know. It's just when I started, people said you don't run speedos, so I think it's just
one less thing to repair when you're.
Yeah.
Well, one of you answered these questions before, but it was either, and I mean, it's a horrible question really, but is it Joey or McGuinness?
Joey.
I'm a bit
Appreciate
late.
Joey's maybe before your time.
Yeah, I'm a bit late.
10 years old.
Guinness.
Hey, come on.
Well, you have got about 8 years on me.
8. 3 or 4.
Plus that.
So, if you had to lay it on the table, you had the biggest ambition you had in bike racing now, if you could, whether that appreciate money's often a restriction on things, let alone everything else, but what would your ultimate goal be?
It's a tough one. No, it's not actually. TT win.
Right.
Yeah. Just one. I'll take one.
Right.
I think over. I mean, yeah.
Would you prefer to go with MotoGP or get a TT win? I appreciate it's a different sport in many ways, but just as a general.
I think you'd have to go to MotoGP.
Right.
Because it's the whole,
Babes. I mean, money.
No, babes.
All right.
No, it's not just a one-time thing, is it?
Yeah.
And if you can do MotoGP, then you can do TT.
Ultimately, your bikes, and that's obviously the elite of bikes, isn't it, as well? So you're given the latest, latest equipment, which, must be quite mouth-watering thought.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's
you don't have to worry about it if you put it down the road either.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think the thing is like a lot of road races are, they're road races, so they're not short circuit races because they don't believe in it or they think it's too boring, or once you're done the TT, then you're not, you go to like Alton Park and it's boring. But I don't see that at all. There's just two different things.
Yeah.
So like short circuit is pushing to 120% limit, trying to find the maximum of every single corner and more. And the TT is just something different. So like I love short circuit racing, but it's just a different way of riding. Like I absolutely love scratching into corners and having slides and having moments and so absolutely love it. But I wouldn't do that at the TT. That's a different. It's by the TT is a different way of riding. But it's not like, I don't think that the only people who say short circuit racing is boring are those people who aren't good at it or aren't prepared to put in, try and
push the boundary.
Because they ride around and go, well, I'm not doing 150 down Bay Hill.
Yeah.
But it's just because it's like,
And do you have real respect then if you look at people who've been really successful like that? Those are two ones that jump out to me: Hislop and then obviously Foggy, who went on to the world stage.
Yeah.
Do you really appreciate that then? Because they are two different. To a point, they are two different things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's
even Hickman, I suppose, to a point.
I think it's easier to go. Obviously, it's easier to go backwards. I've heard like a team manager thing is it's easier to slow somebody down than it is to speed them up.
Oh, right,
so whether that's true or not, you got like a young 17-year-old who's rapid but crashes all the time. It's easier to slow them down than it is to speed somebody up.
Yeah, right, okay.
But like, so those guys obviously like really more talented than what people at TT were, if you know what I mean, at times. So for them to come kind of not like in a kind of like Hickman kind of way, like his talent level or what he can do, he's to step back to the TT, or not step back, but step to the TT is a bit easier than someone working their way through the TT and going from the TT and then going, right, I'm a TT rider, I'm going to go to BSB. It's kind of, I think it's harder to go that way than it is to come.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense.
BSB,
just
right?
Just that 10, 20%, whatever it is where you have to go.
Yeah, because they've got that speed. So they when they can drop that 10, 20%, they've still got a good speed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
a couple of other random questions. Opera or the Spice Girls? You probably don't know who they are, do you?
Spice Girls. Come on.
Do you know who the Spice Girls are?
Heard them. Name of them.
A hot date or a lap on your favourite bike?
Lap on my favourite bike.
Lap of what? And a date with who?
Cadwell.
Yeah, Cadwell.
All right, cool. All right, let's go back.
Be cheaper, probably.
Yeah, but you should be paying for your date if nothing else. So if you start with you, Jamie, that's all right. Getting into biking, when did that first start for you? What age are you now? 24?
23.
Right.
23 I am. Started motocross, officially racing when I was 5 years old. And then just did motocross all the way up until, I think it was 2017, I started road racing.
Were you any good at motocross?
Club level, I was average. I wouldn't say I was like amazing, but yeah.
And is it all on the island, or do you get away? Don't really go away for that?
I do the odd little bits away, not a lot, to be honest. Mainly on island, to be honest.
Right. And when you're looking at motocross, and what's the keys to be good at? I appreciate going quick, but is that bike handling? I assume. Again, for maybe I'm not know a lot about motocross, but jumping, etc. I assume as you're moving up through the age categories, jumps are getting bigger and
I would say
faster and scarier.
Definitely when you're older is being able to know how to set your bike up and fitness, like being able to go from 100% from when you start the race to be able to finish it then as well.
Right.
Which
how long are those races normally? Like looking through the age of your 8 and doing a motocross race, how long are you racing for?
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, if you're 8, say you're 8 years old, we'll start with 8 years old, you do a motocross event, I don't know what they call them, races at that age. How long's that event?
As in like...
time-wise?
Time. We
used to do like an hour or I don't know, half an hour.
It'd be like,
it's like 3 races and they're probably like between 10 and 12 minutes.
Right, okay.
Age, isn't it?
Right.
And then...
Teenage years, what are they?
Teenage, when you're moving up to the 125, their races are about 15 minutes.
Right.
And then the adults are about 20.
Right.
Yeah.
Normally 20 plus 2 laps on top of that, somewhere around there.
So what engine size at like 8 are you using? Obviously
is it
like 65?
Yeah,
65 cc.
Yeah, 65. Yeah.
What will they do in a speed-wise? Sorry.
Like 40 maybe?
Yeah,
Right.
30 to 40 maybe?
I'd say 40 definitely.
Oh, wow. And obviously never bothered you at young age. I mean, most people are fearless anyway when they're young anyway, but didn't bother you?
No, loved it. It's what I wanted to do on the weekends, and it's what I spent doing all the time.
We touched on it before we started on air. It was your old man that got you into doing that.
Yeah.
So he did a bit of bike racing and always encouraged you. And
yeah, he's always been in the background and helped.
Right. And he did a little bit of racing here and there?
Yeah, he did.
To pick him up a little or not? Or put him down?
Put him down a bit.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So he did. So he was doing what kind of biking?
When he was younger, he used to do all sorts. Speedway, motocross, rallying.
Was that UK? Was he in the UK?
Mainly on Ireland.
Oh, right, okay.
I think he did some British motocross, pretty sure.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Speedway, there's one that you don't think about too much.
No, it doesn't happen on the island.
Yeah. Did it used to do that?
Grass tracks, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to do a grass track.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't think it's that great. I don't know. Wouldn't imagine that. I would imagine it had to be a polished surface would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And what about you? When did you get into biking?
I think I was about 7.
Right.
Yeah, I think I was about 7.
Was that a family thing as well, or?
Well, my dad's always been into bikes and stuff.
Trying to piss your dad off.
No, he used to race like in the UK and stuff. It was ages ago. I don't even know what he raced, like just club level.
Right.
But yeah, he just got me a little 50cc motocross bike, and then used to go up Foxdale Mines there where every man's built that house and just ride around there and stuff, and then just went from there. It was like mainly motocross until I was like probably. And
racing or just riding?
No, racing. Like doing like the same races and like racing against Jamie's brother and that kind of thing. Up until I wanted to be a motocross like I wanted to be a pro motocross rider. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be like, it wasn't road racing, wasn't a thing. It's just like motocross. That was like all I wanted to do. So that was it really until I think I was 17, 2012 or 13. I just bought a little 400 from the UK, and just kind of went from there. So
400. Sorry, not being the bike. That's a. What is that? A 400?
Like 400 road race bike.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like an old thing that you make them anymore.
Oh, right, okay.
I shouldn't have bothered buying it, really. But it's a way in.
Yeah, right.
So it was cheap. It was like 800 quid, and it was just kind of...
But you can't start road racing at that age, can you? At 14?
No, 18.
18. Sorry, right,
18. I was motocrossing up until I was
Oh, right. Okay.
7. I think it was 7. Well, I'm still motocrossing now, but
Right.
actually being my main thing that I'm focusing on until I was about, I think it was 17, around that age, and then kind of switched over and focused more on the road racing.
It must give you a good base, I guess, doing that years of biking, and obviously the handling's pretty extreme on those things.
I think, like, we both kind of experienced people who are good road racers, or like circuit racers, whatever you want to call it, but they struggle with the bike moving around.
Oh, right.
They'd be quick, but if the bikes move around, they'd be as quick as you. But once it starts moving, or starts sliding, it's not really something that they'd be used to. Whereas like a motocross bike, it's never straight. It's never in line, really. So I think that's quite a good advantage in the wet as well. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm a very good wet weather rider, but I enjoy riding in the wet. It doesn't bother me if the bike's moving around a bit. So I think it does. And obviously just, a throttle, everything just years, and you just know how to kind of just built into you what to do and how to ride a bike kind of thing. It definitely helps. I think if you were to just decide to do road racing, having played football until you were 18, I think, I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but I think you'd be missing something. It'd be
the feel of the bike, I guess.
Yeah, and just being
trust in it,
not being scared of things happening. You kind of know, like, certain things that you can just do. We just know what to do. If you know what I mean. It's like, for instance, at TT, you kind of go through on the run to Ramsey where it's rough, and I don't even know where it is, but there's a bit where you jump, but sometimes you can get a bit crossed up.
Okay.
And if you, like we just stand up. I'm not saying the other guys wouldn't stand up, but
that's what you
I don't have to like tell myself, like, you have to stand up here to this. You just do it because like on a motocross bike, at step out, you just, that's what you do, kind of thing.
Right.
So that kind of thing.
What effect does that have? Because I've heard the thing where you get a tank slap, you're just supposed to go pull the throttle to keep it straight, which just seems a bit counterintuitive.
Well, in that situation, that particular part, it's not so much just stand up, but if you jump and you land with both wheels both wheels on the floor at the same time, then you're going to have problems. But if you land with the back wheel, just the back wheel on the floor, it's going to straighten up.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So it's going to pull itself straight. It's not going to be, because you're going to go from one side to the other.
Yeah. Okay.
So whereas, if you land just on one wheel, well, obviously the back wheel, it'll just pull itself straight.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then that kind of thing, but it's not really
So you'll know when it's going to maybe land cross, and you try and then just keep it onto the back wheel.
Yeah, not so much stand up, but you stand up and you push the back wheel into the ground and that kind of. But that's
it's all
that's not something that I'm going right. It's going to step out, so I'm going to stand up.
Because you're already in Ramsey by the time you thought that.
That kind of thing. Whereas like some people might not. If you're doing TT, then you should be up to a level where you just do that anyway. But that kind of thing from motocross, really, that I guess it helps. It's just something that I do not think about. So it must come from motocross because. I'm always crossed up on the motocross bike.
So it's interesting that, actually, thinking about the TT. So you were due to do it, Jamie, last year. Obviously, it got cancelled. I think you mentioned you were hoping to do the Manx, but obviously that got cancelled as well. And then obviously I don't think the Manx been cancelled now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To get obviously the natural normal path, which we'll come on to in a few minutes, is through the Manx. Do you have to be a standard to get into the TT? Is that points on a license? How does that process work?
So you have to basically build up to a national side of your license to be able to go to the Manx or the TT. Mm-hmm. And then I think...
So national being UK rounds of something.
Yeah, you've got... So to upgrade your license, it's what you start on novice.
Start on novice, you've got to get 10 to go on to clubman.
Right.
I think that's just one... What is it, one track? Or 3?
It's got to be 3.
So you've got to do 3 different tracks, basically.
And then you've got to qualify within whatever's the leader's time was. Is it their finish time or their best time?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe their finish time.
Right.
You got to finish in a certain percent to get a signature, basically. And then you got to do that. It's probably 20, 30 signatures, isn't it, all the way up?
Yeah.
To get to your national, basically.
Right.
So, and then on in,
It takes a bit of time unless you can do a lot of racing. But do you know what I mean? Even that amount of racing is enough racing to give you the experience.
Yeah, right.
But I think the TT is also not handpicked, but you have to be quick enough. You can't just be.
Yeah.
You can't just, because you could get your national most,
Like the French fella that rode for a Relentless a few years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, you could turn up to a meeting where there isn't particularly fast people, and you can finish in your percentage, but that doesn't really mean that you're that quick, if you know what I mean. So it's not really for the TT. I think it's more of a.
Obviously, it's more in some ways. While you get the advantage, quote unquote, of knowing the circuit and living here, you've got the disadvantage for you to get those licenses and those signatures. You have to go away constantly as well, which is
cost of the votes definitely.
Yeah, it's not a track you can go and test on before or anything. No. Well, you can, but again, it's a trip, it's money.
And I think people like.
It's another day off work as well, isn't
it?
Yeah,
right.
And like obviously, you got in the UK they have track days, especially this time of year, like Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon. So you take a day off and just go to Cadwell Park. Whereas like I've only ever been to Cadwell Park once, and I've been racing for 10 years. But I mean, obviously that's circumstance. I could have done it more times, but I've done Alton Park a few times. But it's not as simple as that kind of. So you turn up there and normally you have a track day, and then you Saturday and Sunday, and you're up to speed by track day, but you wouldn't be. It's not as like if you live in England, you could go to any of these tracks. Doesn't matter how far it is, really. You can. Yeah,
and you're not booking a boat, and all this of the they'll just look at the forecast for the week and go, "Oh, I can take a day off and going here on the Thursday way."
Yeah,
that's why weeks in advance, and suddenly it's raining.
Yeah, that's why it's easy to get stuck at Derby. Not stuck in a bad way, but you can do Derby, but you can just keep on doing Derby, and then you can get once you've got your signatures for your licenses, then you can just do Derby because you don't need to do. Once you've got your national, you only need 6 signatures for the TT, and you can carry 2 over or 4.
I think it's 4.
So you can carry 4. Yeah, so you carry 4 over from one year to the next. So that means you only need to do 2 before TT. So obviously, like a lot of people would just do like the first Derby and do the Saturday and the Sunday. That's your 2 signatures, and then that's it. Yeah, you can do the TT.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, right.
It's
So that looking at that process then of going to the TT, and that was something like say you were due to do in 19. Is that right? 20. Sorry, I'm losing track of COVID. Was the people around you saying do the Manx first?
I had people saying do the Manx. Then I didn't really have anyone telling me to do the TT, to be honest. It's all on my side and wanting to just go into the TT, because if I went to the Manx, I could see myself just going to TT either the year after or the year after that. And like at TT, your first night of practice on a 600, because they're in every qualifying session basically for solos. And you can do, I looked last 20, the year I was meant to do it, you can do 5 laps in a night. And you go to the Manx as a newcomer and you get 1 newcomer lap a night. It's 1 a night, isn't it?
1 night, yeah.
And then you
so
I think
do
5 laps is it 5 or 6 laps in total? And then you're in a newcomer race, and then you get another 4 lap race, a junior or senior, whatever you're selected into. So that was the biggest selling point to me, to look at the bigger picture, because I would say I'm going to end up there anyway. So let's just go there.
Yeah, you get more bang for your buck, basically.
Yeah, basically, right.
Yeah. Okay, right. Interesting. And what about, I mean, your journey was through the Manx, which we'll go into in a sec. Was that a conscious thought process then? Or you just felt it was the right stepping stone for you?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's more kind of self-confidence, really. You kind of think, can I go to TT? And it was kind of like, I don't know.
Not got that then?
I don't really know. But the lap side of things, it is a struggle in the Manx. Like, I think I did my first Manx, I did 15 laps for the whole thing, which realistically isn't a great deal of laps. So it's as a newcomer, it's a struggle, but it's also kind of I think it's a bit more controlled. There's 2 different sides of it, really.
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier, because I was thinking about the senior. Whenever I watch the senior towards the end of the 6 lap race, I always just think it's been a tough 2 weeks for everyone, as in the racing, as in it's hard. And the mental demands on those last couple of laps must be such a drain. And then I was counting back thinking, I wonder how many typically laps a rider will cover during that fortnight. And I kind of thought practice week, it's maybe thinking of like 5 a night. You can have the odd breakdown, the odd maybe 4 laps if you're out later. So that's maybe 20 in practice week, a good race week, maybe 15. And obviously it's practicing. So you're looking at like 40 laps, would you be in a TT fortnight?
Be around that, yeah. I mean, 2018 was, was a big year. I think I did 5 in my first night.
Right.
And then it didn't, it was
that's
pretty
a big
much
stepping stone, I guess, as well. Much as I assume you go out and do even 3 on your first, or you do a couple of runs just to get bedded in, and then you do 3 laps back to back. Compared to anything else you race at the moment, that's endurance stuff.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Because you're looking, obviously the top boys around 17 minutes, but like I'm going to be 19, 20 minutes, aren't I?
It's an hour.
Yeah, so you do.
Yeah, you're looking at 40 minutes, around 40 minutes, aren't you? For say if I set off and just
switch fuel.
Before I come back, some fuel. Probably 40 minutes. Yeah,
it is like very physical, but it's more like road racing. I'm knackered, but just mentally.
Right.
But I force myself not to switch off. I'll switch off when I'm back. Do you know what I mean? So I'd be absolutely knackered. So in 2018, I didn't finish the first Superbike race because I'd spent the whole week, and I just thought, the experience of all like McGuinness and that, they've done however many laps. I'm sat here coming into the TT from the Manx, haven't done a huge amount of laps. So in my head, I just think laps, just do laps and it'll come to you. Just don't worry about it. Do laps and it'll come to you. Come Saturday morning, I was just wrote off. Right. I just couldn't, it got to the point where it's like dangerous. So I had to pull in and stuff, but it's like all those laps of trying to be as good as you can for the race and you can't even finish the race. But there's loads of different factors to that. Riding a big bike for the first time is completely different to riding 600 or whatever. But it's a lot of.
Was that then a very much conscious thought of I'm not a danger to myself, but I'm not in the right frame here?
Yeah. I mean, it was
because that's quite a ballsy move as well. In regard to being able to go, I'm just gonna appreciating there's brick walls everywhere, you
just get to the point where it's like I'm not enjoying this. I'm not learning anything.
Yeah, right.
And I got to the point where my shoulders, I don't even know what was going on, but I was braking. I was sliding up onto the tank, couldn't hold myself up, kind of thing, just from wrestling the bike around. So it's just
wishing you had Nighter's forearms at that moment.
Yeah. It's I think. Well, TT anyway, always be on the cautious side.
That's something for you to look forward to.
Yeah,
arm pumping all sorts.
But it just depends. If you're wrestling with a 200 brake motorbike for that was I think I did 2 laps and that was it. Okay, just pulled in at the pit stop, but that's 40 minutes of full. But that's set up as well. Do you know what I mean? That's also done set up. If you've got a bike which isn't handling, you've got to grip hold of it and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're always, you had the whole week doing that. That's what the struggle I had. It's the whole week of doing that, and come the race, nothing changed, and you're knackered mentally, and you're knackered anyway. So I think that was the main thing. So I think it was the best thing to do in that situation. But it's also tough to your first TT race to do that. Mentally.
Well, that's what
I was gutted. It makes you feel rubbish. Should I be here, kind of thing? But it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mentioned there about ballsy, just in the sense of, I'm sure through your head you think people have an opinion of you doing that. But you ultimately, whatever speed you're racing at around there, you're on the edge because you're pushing your comfortable boundary. We talked about this before, but you're at your 100% constantly, whether you're doing 120, 132. So I don't think there's any harm in going. You know what, I need to. Brain mentality and whether you're just working in an office and you focus on something all day and after 9 hours you're mentally the mental strain's still there. So
but it's like everything else. Someone's always got an opinion, haven't they?
Why don't they get on a bike and whip down?
Well, it's that's the kind of thing. Just don't really care what people think.
So going back to out of interest for those watching on YouTube, there's a video playing on the right there with the onboard, just going through ironically, the second gooseneck at 60 and coming up through, what's that next right hand of the castle there? I can't think of that one. Go through the waterworks and then the left-hander.
I haven't got a clue.
Oh, Albert Tower.
Oh,
Oh, you've only been through there 100 times. And then onto the gooseneck. So,
that's the only place I get my knee down.
Oh, right. The Albert Tower, gooseneck.
The left, and then the gooseneck.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
What is your favourite part? So I'm just watching the video now. We're watching non-board stuff.
I feel like everyone always says Bray Hill, but I can't help but say Bray Hill. Just because it's, again, when you step back afterwards, you're like, that was mental. Yeah.
I always see that
straight off the start.
because they're quite close to the curb on the left, about 3/4 of the way down on you, and there seems to be like a lump just too close to the curb.
Yeah, and
just from the bits I've seen.
jump over that. No, it's
Might be a bit
just
different. Cool.
just because it's, at the start of a race. When you start a race, you accelerate up to second, maybe third gear, depending on what track, and then you shut off and you're into the first corner. Whereas there, you're up to sixth. You're just up to sixth and flat out. And so, this is so weird.
So do you go flat out through the bottom of there?
On the 600, yeah.
Yeah, right.
On the big bike, I haven't done it yet.
You just had that waiting on you. I'm waiting to do that.
Yeah.
But I was actually saying to Jamie last night, the weird thing is when it becomes normal, like obviously from the outside, it's not the same. I always say it's so much, like, it looks worse from the outside.
Right.
You're on the bike, it's like going down Bray Hill flat out on a 600 from the outside, like it's mental. And when you first start, it's crazy. But when you get up to speed and you can do it and you've done it a fair few times, it isn't. Even on a flying lap, you're like, that's when and then you get back to the van and like you think about it, that's absolutely crazy. Yeah, or you go to Derby and you're not even getting up to sixth gear and you think, you're going quick. You think, I got on Bray Hill in sixth gear.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? But when you're doing it, it's not like,
it feels controlled.
Yeah, because you get up to that, your brain gears up to speed and it's not as crazy as what it looks, but it also is if you think about it afterwards.
One of the things, I guess, does it go through your head when you go thinking ahead now to that, to ride and to not, and I assume part of the rider liaison bits they do is don't just drive down the middle of the road, start really steady. Is that something you're conscious of now when you go to do it? The circuit, that you might try too hard?
No, it's one place. I did a parade lap I started road racing in 2017, and I think I did a parade lap. Was it 2000? What year was it? You did
17.
It was 17.
Yeah.
Was it the same year? It must have been the same year then.
Right.
I did a parade lap in 2017 with my brother, Nathan Harrison, and the Crow was there on the sidecar as well. And like, even just setting off down Bray Hill, like just then, we were behind a marshal till Balacrane, and then he waved us through from then on in. But like, just down Bray Hill, it just felt weird. It's just, you shouldn't be doing this. It shouldn't be legal.
Is there any conscious thought process about other things being on the road, having spent all your years going down those roads and seeing?
No, not really. No.
Were you following people then the rest of that lap?
I let Ryan and Nathan go. I didn't know, I knew the course, but I didn't know it like I know it now. So I just took a step back and you crack on and I'll do my own thing. But yeah, we did catch people up. Yeah.
So were you conscious that when you do start doing it, that you appreciate you've done a lap or two, but that, I don't know, I wouldn't say you get complacent, but because you do know the circuit, because you live here, there's a certain element of, I know what's coming up, but what's coming up might be a lot different at 150 than in a van at 50.
I would definitely say that it's completely different, compared to, like you said, going around in a van, like trying to compare that to being on your bike. It's just two different things.
And if you've got a thought, I appreciate it's probably over a year away now, isn't it? But what are those first year ambitions? Just keep building. Do you set yourself any like internal pressure of I'd like to do 110 or whatever that number might be, or do you just not think about that?
No, I'm quite lucky because it's my old man who owns the bikes and that, so it's just like everything's there, and then there's no pressure on me at all. It's just you just crack on and do what you want to do. Basically, there'd be no pressure. But say if I didn't like it and said that's it, I don't want to do it, it'd be alright.
Don't envisage that happening though, do you?
No, I don't envisage that happening at all. But yeah, there's no pressure on that side, which is a good thing. So there's no one to please on that side. It's I would say there's a bit more pressure if you're riding someone else's bike and than your own stuff. Because,
And if you haven't done the Northwest, is that on the agenda at some point?
Yeah, I would do the Northwest. That would be, I want to do TT first, do that, and then go from there. And my second choice of road race would be the Northwest. And I don't think I'd go anywhere else. I think that'll be the two main places where I'd go.
Right.
We were speaking last night, weren't we? And I'd said Northwest and TT is all what interests me. And like Mikey was saying about the short circuit stuff, like I enjoy that as well, like as much as obviously you were describing it all. So,
Just to go back to the question I asked earlier about ambitions, because I think we got a bit sidetracked. What would yours, I presume, obviously a TT win, I assume, because I know we briefly chatted before, but that seems to be the...
Yeah, definitely a TT win, but they're definitely not easy to come by.
No.
Yeah.
And is it one and done type of thing for either of you, or would it be...
I think everyone's one and done, but it doesn't end like that, does it? I would like to do that, that would be the best thing. That would be the most sensible thing to do, but I don't think that's how it works, really, is it?
Yeah, why do you think it's like that?
Because it's like gambling. Once you win, you think you can win again.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's... But why would you stop when you're at the... You take all this effort to get to be in that position, and then you win, and then you think, well, I'm going to stop now. You should do, but you don't.
At that top end as well, I mean, nowadays the gaps are so small, and
I think the struggle is now the speeds are...
The strength in depth, I saw as an observer again.
Yeah, I mean, like the top 20 in a super sport races, in any of the races, but like how close they are is and the speeds that you're kind of doing is pretty crazy. Like I don't know about any like stats or whatever, but like I did 123 not too long ago. That would be I put you up fairly high up. And obviously now the guys are doing almost 130 on 600s, which is absolutely insane. Like I have no idea how they're doing that. Like I don't know what they're doing.
So we talked about on boards before. Would that be something now at the level you're at now? Would you watch those guys?
If I'd done the TT for the last few years, then and I was looking for something, but for me, for the TT next year, I'm gonna have to take a step back again and kind of like as a newcomer thing, because I think I could go in thinking pick up where I left off, but I don't think that's the case. I think the best thing to do is kind of go, right, this is 4 years off, back in, steady, right, okay. Then the year after, kind of build on it, which is going to be quite annoying because it's just like really slow and not slow and boring, but it's 4 years. Like I did the Manx in 2017 and it'll be 2022 next year, and it's I don't really feel like I've done a great deal in between that, which is I don't think that's my fault either, but you're just waiting to try and you kind of I think you've got to hold back until everything kind of lines up for you, and it's trying to get everything to line up isn't.
It must be annoying and similar where, like I say, Matt and I talk about being cyclists and seeing the young lads that potentially are just missing opportunities because it's 2 years really of no racing. It must be the same when you kind of, like all of us would think we're never in our prime, but the reality we're all getting older, that you just kind of basically lost 2 years of potential opportunities, haven't you? Yeah,
definitely. There's for me, I don't want to be doing, I don't know at the moment, but I don't feel like I want to be doing the TT until I'm like 50 and then doing the Manx and the Classic when I'm 60, like my time is my time, and
so
then I'll stop.
Why that? So you obviously love biking, love racing, and do you think that's because I wouldn't say but at that age you won't want to do that type of risk, or is that because you feel at that age you just wouldn't be competitive and therefore not enjoying it? Or
I think it's more down to the risk,
right?
But yeah, I think it's much more down to the risk. Right. Yeah, there's only so many times you can be willing to risk.
So if you look at John McGuinness then, and appreciate he's smooth, he's whatever, but
fair play to him. I don't know how he's done it for so long. I mean,
and Joey was the same, wasn't he? But a lot of those boys.
But if you're good, and that's but I mean, the difference is if someone started to pay me and that was my job, then and that job pays me better and it's more fun than the job that I've got now.
Right, okay.
Then do I really, if I'm racing, getting paid to do this, riding for the best teams, getting all the best stuff, and someone says, right, well, if you stop now, then you're going to go back and be an electrician.
Yeah, right.
I'd probably stay road racing.
Yeah, right.
So that's the difference. Do you know what I mean? If that's your job, that's a pretty good job.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's also quite a big thing. But as it is kind of like now, like, you know, paying for my racing, having a job, that kind of thing, there's only so much, you know, there's other things to do.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, road racing kind of like takes over and takes a lot of your money and takes a lot of your time. And there's a lot more to do than just road racing.
Right.
So there is a time to stop, I think, unless you're rich enough or able to do everything, then you do what you want. But there is, you know, for the normal person, there's a time to, there's a window.
Right. Yeah, and there's 2 years of it gone.
Yeah, which is quite annoying because it's like
stupid COVID.
Because I kind of like see myself like, you know, like I don't say how fast I think I can go kind of thing, but it's like, right, this, I had like a plan, you know, like this, you know, like a goal, this, not, you know, not a stupid realistic, I'm going to win the TT in 2 years, like, you know, just a stepping stone kind of thing. And like now it's like, well, this stepping stone, I can't go to that stepping stone. You can't go from one, miss 4 years or whatever it is, and then go to, you know, you've got to come back. So it's my steps have been broken.
And do you have a similar outlook then, Jamie, in that regard? Or not really thinking that far?
Yeah, well, it's quite a hard one, isn't it? Definitely lost 2 years of experience is the way I look at it. And they say the TT course takes, they reckon, about 4 years until you know properly where you're going and everything about it.
Right.
Can I just ask a question? Probably very open, but how do you get, I use the term loosely, better, faster on the TT then? So if you've done your 4 years, and you're saying, okay, I'm 125, I want to get 128, where does that come from? Because if you've rode it so many times, you've done the onboard, and I'm just from someone who has no idea on TT, I'll admit that. How do you practice? How do you train? Is it something to do you then start look at the bike, or if the bike's as best as they probably can be?
There's always something to change, you know, like I always think the same thing, like McGuinness and that. I mean, they might just get on the bike, not now because he's changed bikes, but when he's on the Honda, surely he gets off it at the senior, cleans the flies off it and says, don't touch that. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you? It makes no sense to me why you wouldn't, but it doesn't really work like that. But a lot of road races, like me included, I think you go to a track and you start somewhere and you go, this bike's rubbish, and you end up back in the same place because you're not going the speed. The speed doesn't, you know, the bike setup has to match the speed that you're going. So I think to get better at TT, it's tough because it's you're at your quickest, and then you come back and you kind of you've practice week to, you know, you don't finish it. Say you've done 132, you don't go practice week and do 132 as your slowest, and then build up from there. So, but I think it's just committing to it and watching videos. And I think like what I did from 2017. Well, a year before, I watched my own videos. I had the camera, so I can see exactly what I'm doing. So I can watch myself, watch somebody else, so I can see what I'm doing, see what he's doing. And I'd do that every time. You know, right, so my speed, 125. This is 127 lap. What's he doing through here? What am I doing through there? That kind of thing, you know, and then just...
So there'd be things like rolling off earlier, changing gear, shifting gear at different times.
Yeah, down one, down two, that kind of thing. There's not really a great deal. Like it's and kind of off other people. I you know, I was lucky enough to follow William Dunlop at the Manx in 2017, and I just followed him. I was quick. I was quicker than him. He was on a classic bike, so I could have overtaken him on the straights. But I stayed behind him, and I learned so much. And like as well, exact same thing with Connor. I think Connor said he'd take me around, or I caught up to him, whatever. But he was on a classic bike, so I caught up to him. But I wouldn't go past him. I did go past him at one point, and then I thought I should follow him.
Yeah, right.
So I dropped back behind him, and like he'd go through stuff. And I'm like, you cannot go through that fast. Right. But once someone's done it, you know, it's possible. Right. Okay, but obviously if you come into it, like, can I go through this? But if you don't know and you can't, you're going to be in a wall. Yeah. But if you see someone do it, you go, oh, it can be done. Right. So you do it. And it's like those two things, following William Dunlop and Connor, I learned so much. Right. And like I even started my first TT in 2018, first night practice, I went set off with Connor. I was like, yeah, I can stick with him. And at his first lap, I'll just I'll just stick with him, you know, see what and then I come up to Balagari, and I thought I was fairly handy through there, and he just left me, and I was like, you can't go through there that quick.
Right.
He just did, and I was like, well, so I know now.
Yeah, right, okay.
But do you know what I mean? That kind of thing, you're like, because it's quick. Once you're up to, you know, how long he's done the TT, so he knows what can be done. Once you know it can be done, then you just do it. But if you don't know it can be done, then you don't, you know, the step to do it is a very scary step because it's, you know, it's not just a small consequence, basically.
I suppose that's a big thing if you look at going straight to do the TT, that it also, obviously they're very good riders at the Manx, but you go to the TT, a full field of people,
class riders.
To
every
learn
time
off.
once someone overtakes you, I was just going to be looking at them and what they're doing, basically what I used to say.
Like I've had it before, people overtake me, not the TT really, but more on short circuits, and I'll just not concentrate on what I'm doing, but I'll literally watch them.
Right.
Like as they ride away from me, I'm watching exactly where they're going, just to see if I can see them do something. You might pick, you know, just see them take a bit of curb there or something, especially if there's somebody who you know is quick around that track, or they're like track specialist kind of thing. But like at the TT, it's just, you kind of end up just going their speed because you know it can be done, so you just do that speed.
Right.
Especially with the classic guys as well, because if you're on like a 600, your bike would probably be quicker than theirs, but they'd be quicker. They do a quicker lap than you. So, you know, like a lot of guys would just fly past them, but just to say, even like some of the old guys, you know, flat out through like some corners, you know, like, it's just mad. But, you know, it can be done. But,
so I suppose to go back to Matt's question then, it's about, I suppose just learning where you can.
It's experience and time. It just takes a long time. And it's like short circuits, you can kind of take your brain out and just, it still takes time, but you know, you can take your brain out and just kind of go for it.
Yeah, right.
There's not really a way of, I don't think a way of doing it quick. I mean, obviously you got like guys like Hickman and that, but like I said, their level that they're coming in at is a different level. So it's a bit like same like Glenn Irwin. If he does it, his level is already that high, and you know they're not coming in as kind of like just a person riding a bike. You know, they're coming in with a team and all that.
You made an interesting analogy before we came on, where at the TT you're riding it, you know, you're trying to ride at 100, where on short circuits you're doing 120. Yeah, because you can push the limits. There's always usually a run off that, you know, worst case scenario, but that you don't have here. So they already know way beyond those limits. It's the issue, if that's the right word, is just them pulling that back to the 100%.
Yeah, and then obviously their speeds, their 120% is quicker than a lot of people's 120. So when they pull it back, they've still got they've got room to play with, but they're also going very quick as well. So I think that's where, like I say, the short circuits, you know, you got your classic road heads who just, I'm just here to get me signatures, so they ride around like a nosher, and then I've got my signatures, I can do TT, but they're not gaining anything, they're not getting any better. There's loads of people like that, and they're just wasting their time, basically. Right. I mean, just so they can do the TT, they don't, you know, actually gain anything from it.
Right. So go back to Jamie, your day starting road race, and then back in, you won the Isle of Man champs. What age were you then? Was that on the 600?
Yeah, my first year was 17, and second year was when I won the 600 championship at Derby.
So you were 18, 19?
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
And were the people, I suppose the two questions off the back, that people as you're coming up through motorbiking, is it a cliquey environment, or is people welcome, especially as some, I guess at a young age, you kind of use this young start whipping our ass. Is that, or is everyone there to help each other?
It is definitely like a welcome environment, and everyone's there to help each other. But what I had is my brother, he used to do Derby. He's not really doing it anymore, but it's fast around there, isn't it? And he would follow me, tell me what I'm doing. It's straight down the middle. He'd tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I should be doing. So like him follow me, tell me what to do, and like I've learned a lot from starting my road race career from him to tell me his knowledge, what he has of it. So I've learned a lot from him, basically.
Yeah. And that year you won it then, when you was that something that was the start of the year that you thought was in your capabilities?
Not really. I was just turning up, just having the crack, just coming out and just enjoying it.
Right.
Didn't think I'd win it then, but yeah.
And that was,
It was a bit of a difficult that year. That I think that's the year maybe. I think a couple of people protested, didn't they? We had there was noise. Was that the year the noise?
What year was it? I don't know.
18.
18 it is, yeah.
A couple of people protested against because Derby, there's no noise limit there, and then it ended up being a noise limit that day, and then people got thrown out of the results and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm doing this wrong here. I think it might have been 17.
Oh, is that the year we...
The Clubman Championship in 2017.
Yeah, because we all pulled out, didn't we?
Yeah, that was 2017. No.
I think...
no, people were there, sorry, man.
I think Ryan
Is that residents complaining there?
I was going to say, what is noise?
No. I don't know why they did it.
Yeah.
Not a clue, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that when Ryan got kicked out?
Yeah.
So Ryan's your brother.
Yeah, he got kicked out.
So kicked out, so we just like...
There's probably 3 or 4 of us, wasn't there?
Yeah.
We just protested and...
So he just did the race,
Just
but then
didn't-
pulled, like, I think... Was I leading?
Probably, yeah, I don't know.
I just pulled in and the race
Right.
just to kind of...
Did the race,
That's a bit of
but
a-
come
didn't
last
fit.
lap.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Ah,
basically,
right.
you got your bike time, didn't you? And pulled in at the end of it.
Just
Right.
didn't get the points or anything. So it was a bit of a weird
Right.
situation. I can't even remember it. It was too many sleeps ago.
Yeah.
I had a few hits on the head then.
I was in the wrong year anyway to start off with. Yeah.
That still seems, I mean, I don't know, but it seems young that, I don't know, 18 to be, don't know. Is that common, like, coming through ranks? Is that?
So you look at like Spanish kids that are on
Yeah,
mini
well,
motors and they're doing
yeah.
all this crazy stuff. So it is young, yeah. When you're 18, you're not even, when you're 18, you think you're old, but you're not.
Yeah.
But then you see those kids like, Moto3, that young lad, he's 16 and he's winning Moto3.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not, maybe it's not old anymore, basically.
No.
You know.
They've got an amazing, I was chatting to Connor about this a while ago, that kind of academy, haven't they, in Spain, where
Yeah, they can just
you're racing
build.
from
It's
the
like a
womb,
proper,
basically.
Yeah. Kind of born, like just
On a bike.
racing machines, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
like kind of made to be racers, but
Are there any form of grassroots roadside here then? Or is it everyone like yourselves go through motocross and then transition over at an age? Is there anything, what's kind of your youngest you can road race
Gosh,
here?
just start from
the youngest you can road race.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a development path.
Yeah.
Connor was talking about this, where there's no real development path. I don't think it's just the Alaman.
Yeah, it's
There's
more of a
massive
UK
development
thing.
compared to the Spain, where there's
Yeah.
this.
They could,
And
if you look at, and
obviously bringing these people
Italy's kind of similar. I think they've got a similar. If you look at Moto3 and like with the MotoGP, it's full of Italians and Spanish.
Yeah.
You've got like a couple of English people, and so it kind of. I don't know if it tells you because you've got like the talent cups and the Red Bull rookies and stuff, but they have got the British Talent Cup now, so that's. I think that's kind of like the same
Start.
kind of
Yeah.
starting, but I think it's like takes. It's not just like as soon as they do it, there's going to be somebody who's like special, and then,
Yeah. It's just years of building up.
yeah,
isn't it?
kind of.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're like I think Spain have had that for a good while, so.
Is that why in the
Well,
UK they throw everyone on whatever,
Yeah, all on like
on
a
the same bike?
same
Yeah.
same bike.
I think they basically turn up. Everything's all prepped for them.
Oh, right. You can't
Yeah.
do anything to the bike pretty
Yes, they just basically ride it.
much. Right.
I think they swap bikes as well, don't they?
Yeah, they're
Like not swap bikes,
Oh,
but
okay.
you ride that bike this week.
Oh, okay.
So there's
So
no.
when you go
Yeah.
carting up Derby track and you're like, oh, stuck with that
Yeah, that
shit
one.
A-cart. It's not quite as quick.
Number 5's the good one.
Oh, right. I'll take a note of that. Right.
But yeah, I think it's like anyway. So obviously it's a level, level for everybody, and you get like the young lads coming up, and
It seems to be that, that's what Connor was kind of saying, that this, hopefully not putting words in his mouth, that they haven't quite got that to the same level in the UK. And that's why the Spanish and
Yeah.
Italians are so
I mean, it's
so
like
many of them.
from like my point of view, like I wouldn't have been doing that anyway. But I started road racing until I was 18. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lad winning Moto3 when he's 16.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'd be doing that, but I'm saying like there's
Yeah, it's
you know,
different.
if there was a kid in my situation who was racing when he was younger,
Yeah.
rather than there will be and stuff like more talented kids
You
and
see,
stuff like that.
it's the same. I know we keep talking always about cycling. We end up talking about, but it's the same now that academies in the UK that's been around for 15 years now. It shows, and young riders are performing at an elite level at 19, 20, 21, where 20 years ago it was.
That's where you start.
Yeah, exactly. And you might hopefully get there at 30.
Yeah, because
if you're lucky.
Everything's been done in those years to get them to that point.
So to go back to we're talking about sort of 17, 18, back to when you decided to do the Manx and that was that, I assume, something you've been thinking about doing for a while? What age were you when you did the Manx? So we were talking about 17, 16 was newcomers year. 22, 23? I can't remember. Yeah, so around the same age. In theory, you would have been doing it if it was going ahead.
Well, that was the...
Were you a favourite for a newcomer then when you... Obviously, you never know who's turning up ultimately, I guess. But.
I don't think... I can't even remember. It's weird. I can't even remember thinking about anything. Right. As in like, I'm going to win. Who's going to be the fastest? It was weird. Because as a racer, regardless of what you say, you always think... You always have an expectation of where you're going to come. And I would always say, well, as I get older, I would say to someone doing it, have no expectation. If you come last, you come last. It's not... It really isn't the end of the world. Yeah. But I can't remember ever being like, I wonder what place I'm going to come. I'd literally just
even after practice, where I presume you.
Yeah, I might have, but I can't remember. But like I say, that was a while ago. But it was good. That was the main thing. When I first started road racing, I only started road racing to do that.
Yeah, right.
And everything else is just kind of because of it. So.
And remind me, through practice week there, you got the bib on. Do you have a bib on all through practice week and then not on race day? Yeah,
so you do your laps. I think we go out first or last. I can't remember as a newcomer. But you just do the one lap. So you get your bib on every night and then come to race, you have your bib off and then so you can...
Yeah, so you touched on that earlier. You only literally do one lap all year each night.
Yeah, it's a pain, to be honest with you, because the problem is you build yourself up all day, you're a newcomer, you've got loads to do, you don't know what's going on, you're a bit... you're extra nervous because you're a newcomer. You're kind of thinking about how to be the best that you can be. You set off and you kind of like, because you're obviously a newcomer, you're not really into it and you don't really know what's going on. So you get to maybe Ballacrane or whatever, and you're into it, get into it, then before you know it, you're pulling back in. You don't get that, if you had that second lap, you'd kind of be like more relaxed and be like, that second lap would help you so much. So you do one lap and you're like, right, okay. And then next night, same again. You kind of spend all day kind of doing it. It's really hard to get into like a...
Dialed into it, I guess.
Yeah, or kind of not improve, because I was improving every single lap, but I think you just get a lot more from doing at least one flying lap. But
what's the reason for that? Why they do it in the...
I think it's time, because you... Obviously, Manx, restricted with light and stuff, and you'd be...
They don't want, I say you, but newcomers on with more experienced riders.
Yeah, which I think is a bit... I think just speeds. I mean, at the start, the speeds are a lot lower, but it's hard. They obviously do the best they can, but it's a tricky situation. But I think it's the light, which is like I remember my very first lap. I can't remember if we got out before the main practice or after. On my very first lap, it's after. So it's like you're going to be out in the darkest and and obviously that time of year the sun's really bad. Yeah, right. I was saying to Jamie yesterday, I used to drive down to Braddon Bridge and drive up the Ballamoda in my van at that time and put the sun visor up and just to see how see where you're going to get blinded. I just went from there to Ballacrane and home. Just done that a few times. I don't know why, it's pretty stupid. I just wanted to see where I was going. But anyway,
you won't be saying that when you come on a Ballahutchin at 130 and you're blinded and you're like,
I remember coming up to Ballahutchin. It was my very, very first lap I was in on my own, not with a marshal. And I called up to the guys in front of who set off in front of me, going up Ballahutchin, and I've got it on a video, and you just get blinded, like the sun. And even though I'm from over here, I know exactly it's a straight line, knew exactly where it was, and I just shut the throttle. Just because you're completely blind, and there's no, in a car you can get blinded. Jesus. There's nothing you can do, and you're going like 120 miles an hour. It's
I presume that late evening as well, you're not wanting a tinted visor and things like that either.
Well, you kind of have you don't have like a dark tint, but obviously if you had a clear visor, but then the problem is you get to Ballacrane, you go into
the trees.
So you can't have a fully dark one, because then you get in there and you also can't see. So you get to Ballacrane and then so that's another thing as a newcomer. It's obviously they do it for a reason and stuff, but you've got such a it's not as difficult as what it used to be when you hear like McGuinness and they said they used to go out in the snow and whatever they used to do. I don't know. And they just used to set you off. It's much better, but the time that you go out, it makes it like, considering you don't know where you go and you can get blinded. If I wasn't from over here, like I'd be in first gear everywhere. It'd be scary though.
Was it a 3-lap race? The newcomers?
No, 4.
Right. So that's a big jump. If you're doing one a night.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I did 7 before my first race.
Right.
So you
And
do 7,
then
and then
more
you
than
do-
half of that in the race.
Yeah, but 7 once a night kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think
yeah,
I got
yeah.
like 2 on the Saturday.
Right. Yeah, because they moved it.
Something
They
like-
used to be Saturdays years ago.
I
I
can't
think they
remember,
moved it to the
but
Monday.
yeah, so you jump to a 4, and then
Yeah.
so you go from doing not that many laps to 4. Because I remember in the newcomers race, and I think it was after the pit stop going through towards Crosby, and I had whatever I had as lead. So I've got this race, and I was just thinking in my head, I've got to go from here all the way around the TT course to the grandstand, and then I've got to go all the way around again. I was like, what an idiot!
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't have this.
Yeah.
So, but you know, because you're just like, yeah, it's a bit of you don't realize how far you've got to go when you go in that speed as well. Like, it doesn't seem that long.
Yeah,
You're
right.
like, that's a long way to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I know you touched on sort of maybe the memory wasn't great around that, but do you remember being on the start line of the race thinking that I've got a chance here?
No, not even that. I think it was just, it was good. It was a really good 2 weeks. It was literally me and my dad, and he came in, he worked on the bikes.
Right.
Every night I was getting a bit quicker, and it was just like, you know, all that time wanting to do the Manx, and you had the Manx. It was just like, there wasn't a bad thing that happened. It was, you know, it was just chilled and as relaxed as I could be. And I can't even remember being like, you know, I want to win this, and, you know, any pressure whatsoever. There might have been, but it was, if it wasn't a lot, because I was just like, just riding.
And did I read you were on when I was reading the results, you were on an 07 bike?
Yeah. Well,
Bear in mind, this is 16, so yeah, 9-year-old bike.
9-year-old bike. That was a good bike, that was.
Couldn't like get to road and track and get something a bit newer now.
Nah, she was a good bike. That was a really
In the
good bike.
classic soon, that.
It was I know, I should have kept it. I had a good engine and stuff on it, but that was like my first 600, and I had that for, I think 2013 I bought it, 14.
Right.
So that was like I was gutted when I had to sell it. I didn't have to sell it, but I sold it.
Right.
But no, it was just it had a good engine and stuff. It obviously wasn't the newest thing and stuff, but I destroyed it once, so it was pretty much new anyway.
Oh, right.
Yeah, snapped the frame in half, pretty much.
Right.
Well, the head stuff, but yeah.
In that year, so your first year in the Manx, can you do other races, or only the newcomers you can do?
No, newcomers and then senior.
Oh, right, okay.
I had a bit of I think it was after the newcomers, or in practice, something happened with the timing. So I did like 117, but the timing broke or whatever. So I said I did 119. So everyone was like saying you did 119 or whatever, but I didn't.
Right.
But because of this, the organisers bumped me up to 3rd. So I was starting 3rd on the road in the senior.
Oh, right.
So I won the junior, so I won newcomers, and then I was bumped up to starting 3rd on the road. And one of the lads, I think it was the lad who won it, started behind me, I think. And it was just a bit like, I didn't choose to be in that position.
Yeah,
I didn't say put me 3rd. I was put 3rd. So it's kind of like I would have rather not that situation. So and it was a bit damp and stuff as well. I don't like thinking about
Nothing
that.
better than racing around a city course with damp.
Well, I think there's just damp patches. I think like, realistically it was fine, but as a newcomer, you don't have a clue what's going on. You're like, the last thing I want to do is, I don't know where it's going to be damp and stuff. So I think I did 2 laps, and I just wasn't feeling it, and it's kind of like I just didn't feel that great and stuff. So I just pulled in after that. So I didn't didn't finish the senior. So yeah, but I think they put you in a race. So I did newcomer, and I was put in the senior.
Oh, they just say the senior or junior.
Yeah, like some of the lads, I think like...
Is that picked out of a hat? How's that decided?
It's before you start, so I don't really know, because like one of the other lads who've done the newcomers, he'd done the junior. So there's I don't really know what the...
criteria is.
Yeah, because it's not like you do your newcomer and then they go, you're doing this, you're doing this. It's
and you're doing the senior, because I assume the seniors are on 750s, you on your 600?
Yeah, 600, but most people on 600s. There's a few 750s and stuff.
Is that right?
But then I rode the 750 the year after. But yeah, that's what the senior is. So you can ride 750s, but
most people on.
There's only one 750 you can have, I think. So
Suzuki.
Okay. So it's not really. It's not a big field of 750s kind of thing. Right. So I don't know if it was different. I don't know if it was different. Yeah, basically it's two juniors, but I don't know if it was different years ago or what. I'm not sure.
So speaking of juniors, then in 18 when you went and. Did you remember much of that sort of build up to that? I assume then, obviously, hadn't done 119 the year before, 117. That you had certain expectations
for the second Manx.
Yeah.
The second Manx, because like I remember just like everything was like junior and senior, like that was just that was what I was going to do, kind of thing. Because I knew I could do it, if you know what I mean, in a weird way. So like I was fully focused on that. Whereas the first year was just turn up, see what happens. The second year, like I was fully focused on winning junior and senior. That was kind of like, that's the only reason why I was going there, kind of thing. So yeah, that was the main.
Who were your main rivals around and that?
It was like Barry Lee Evans and Dean Osborne.
Rob Hodgson there?
No, he'd already gone to the TT. There was a few people, but it was a bit weird during practice week because I spent most of the time on the 750. So I only did 6 laps on the 600 before the race because I'd spent the time on the 750. So, and I think I did 119 on the last practice on the 600, but they bumped a load of lads up, so I was starting 17th. But for whatever reason, they bumped a load of lads up in front of me. So there's like gaps appeared or whatever. So they bumped them up in front of me, but I still started in that position. And it like pissed me off because I was like, well, I've done 6 laps. I did 119. So anyway, I thought I should have been higher up because then you've got traffic. So that annoyed me. So it fired me up for the race. So like first lap of the race, I had to pass 3 people and I had to do it. Then they got red flags, so I had to do it again. But it was just like that. It was kind of a good thing because I was like, I just made it like a grudge, if you know what I mean. Like not against anybody, but I was like,
it's just
like stupidly like, all right, you're not going to move me up. Then, you know, that kind of thing. But it was more just to self-motivate myself, you know. Like,
and going back to the newcomers here before, is that like I suppose I say at that level, but I mean in the sense of new to, did you get pit boards or was it just told at your pit stop where you are?
No, I had pit boards, but because I don't think, some people I've heard they don't really bother with pit boards when they're like a newcomer, but I don't think there's a, if you're up the front, like I was quicker, so I started first. So, you know, why would I not have pit boards if I was in the position to possibly win? You know, that kind of thing.
Take it a bit easier, whatever.
You know, and there's a lot of, you know, like coming out of the gooseneck, I was like, I remember seeing P1 plus 27 last lap, like, you know what I mean? So I don't need to do anything over the mountain. So, you know, I don't need to do anything stupid. So if you don't have that, then, you know, imagine if you didn't have that and then you've done something stupid over the mountain without having to, you know,
just roll off a little bit here and there. And
you just know that you can be cautious. You know, no one's going to catch you that much over the mountain. So I think it's a bit daft to not have that.
And what's that wave in at the end of the junior when you get waved into the enclosure? I appreciate you did it in the newcomers, but you know that next stage, isn't it, of the year?
It's the thing with the junior though is it wasn't really as expected because I'd spent all my time on the 750 because I wasn't focused on both of them, but I hadn't really thought a great deal about 600. So that was, and you know, like started me 17th. I could pass 3 people, but then I had to do it twice because it got red flagged. You know, so it was quite difficult. You know, from just doing the newcomers race, there's a lot of things I had to do for the junior. So that was like that was more of a surprise, if you know what I mean. But because it went to a 3-lap race, I got a pit board because obviously the fastest way of doing it is to pit after the first lap. The fast way to a 3-lap race.
All right, okay. Is it not the other way and fuel less on the second lap?
Which way
stop would be?
No, because then you get your flying lap.
Oh, on your last lap.
Is that the right way? Or am I thinking the other way? Yeah, you want to pit on the first lap.
Oh, right, okay.
So, because if you pit on the second lap, then you've got a standing start.
Right.
Then you've got slowing down. And then you've got your third lap is your out lap.
Yeah, right. Okay.
From the pits. Whereas if you do it on the first lap, you've got to stop. And then you've got second and then third's a flying lap.
Yeah, right.
So it is quicker.
Right.
But then coming out on that second lap after the pits, I got P3 and I was like, because I just presumed everybody was going to start the same because that's the quickest way of doing it. It's stupid to not do it unless they red flag it. There's no way, there's no reason why you wouldn't stop on the first lap. But some people didn't. So obviously they went past me. So I was like P3 and I was like, I remember going up over Lamfell and my heart sunk. I was like P3 and I was like,
that's me on the board there.
Was it? So
you're probably pissing you off.
I remember going down Cringle body like, what? P3?
I know, I'd imagine your brain's trying to compute it while you're doing 160 mile an hour.
So I was like going down like
into
P3. I was like, there's no way that they've put that much into me when I was leading the first lap. And I was like, got to the end, I was like, I better start concentrating. I was like, oh yeah, I was
it's
like,
quick down here.
I just presumed, but then you don't know. I was like, so I spent the whole second lap worrying.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, right, because the only time I'd know is when I get to same place, third lap, because then it would all adjust itself. I was like, please,
James was
God.
asleep sunburnt in the field.
I was like, please say P1, and it did. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, just
long 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was horrible. I just remember that, and I kind of almost froze, and I was just like flat out like, oh no.
I wouldn't say it's a peculiar place to pitbull, but I thought, because you're giving him grandstand times at that point, I assume.
That's Ballycrane. Glen Helen, yeah, sorry. Glen Helen times.
Refreshing my phone all the time,
Oh,
so
right.
I had to be quite sharp on the board.
Yeah, that's from Glen Helen to Lamfell.
So
that's like 30 seconds. Well, probably not even that, is it?
So I had Glen Helen, end of Solby, Gooseneck, and
right.
coming out of Signpost.
Okay, yeah.
So that's where I had them.
So the signposts want to be Cronknamona
Yeah.
at the time, yeah. They are all
Which is pretty tight. And then, Gooseneck one. Because I got one for the senior as well. I don't know if you remember. There was me and Barry Lee Evans. We were basically the same. So I had like 6.3, I think it was. And then he had an issue. So we're basically the same. So 6.3 going into the pits. And then I can't remember what it was, but then I remember going to against the end of Solby Straight, and it was like plus 76.
Right.
And I ran wide because I was like on the brakes.
Right.
I was like, just a bit. I didn't go straight on, but I was like 7.6.
Oh, right.
I was like, it's not no way it says 70.6. So I was like, same thing on the run to Ramsey. I was like, what's going on? Came out of the thing and it was like plus 76 because he had an issue, so he basically pitted twice. But then that last lap of the senior was probably the worst lap I've ever had because I don't need to do anything. You got one lap, you're like, I've won the senior, but you still got a whole lap to do. But it's like you're riding like as dead cautious and and you're like, I'm going slow.
Probably making mistakes.
Yeah, but you're like, I'm going slow, but you're like, it was just horrible because you have to actually think about what rather than just I'm just riding as fast as I can. When you slow down, you don't concentrate as much as
I was going to ask about the pit boards and being able to see them and that.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people say that, especially at like short circuits, but you can pick them out, can't you?
Yeah,
you can pick a lot of things out which you don't think that you would do, kind of thing.
Do you have a limit on how many you can? Is that how many you put out? Is that what most people do in those areas, or is that where you?
I know why some people don't put them out, and it's because they're like, what? Smash.
Yeah.
But, are you restricted by how many you can have set up? I appreciate the same thing as that you don't want to be scrambling.
So. It's just the timing areas, because obviously there's only however many timing bits on the course. Right. You could have one after everyone, but obviously your timing board is after you. It's delayed kind of thing, isn't it? So you kind of have to take that into account. So it's going up, I always think, well, it's more than that. If it's going down, I always think it's more than that.
And your first year at the TT then, and this is meant disrespectfully, you're obviously not at the pointy end, the boards become less important, it's more just about... on the big, to a degree. On the 600, the same, because, I went like... I went quicker on the 600 than I did in the senior last year. So it was like for 17th position, which it doesn't sound as good, but for, to get into the top 20, is it like that's the result? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
So
that's what I was kind of leading on to it, that then when you step into TT is the kind of like, right, I'm looking for a top 20 finish here, which I appreciate you might think observers go, it's only top 20. But they need to get a grip as well.
But then it's like, obviously on like the big bag and stuff, you like come around to P24 plus whatever, you're like, put that board away, would you? Do you know what I mean? I don't care about P24, but it's if you got a bad board, then you don't want to see it. If you got a good board, then you're like, do you know what I mean? But I always like to know what's going on. It just gives you, because I would hate to, any position to me is, P24, P23. So if it says P24 plus one, then last lap I'm going to push over the mountain kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I want to come 23rd, not 24th, regardless of how much that doesn't make a difference to anybody, that kind of thing. So I would hate to lose a position if I lost a position because I thought, well, why bother? Or not why bother, but I'm fine. I'd hate, I'd absolutely hate it. Yeah,
that'd be that competitive edge, wouldn't it? Yeah. So Jamie, you went when we were talking earlier about the winning the champs here, and then you started to go away and do the sprint series, is it called?
Yeah, Prally Super Series 600.
So what's all that about? apart from racing bikes, obviously?
There's probably 2 clubs in the UK that are like the top clubs, what you call it, and like the next step up from there, then on in is BSB.
Right. So
like realistically, you want to get to the sharp end of that before you go to the next step. If you go to the next step, so yeah, that's in 2019. I had quite a good run in the UK. I ended up missing 2 rounds. I had a AC joint separation in my left shoulder and broke my right wrist.
How'd you manage that?
Motocross bike.
Right.
So we had a good run at Donington, and then 2 weeks later, BSB was there. So then we spoke, and we were going to go back 2 weeks later. And the week before, training on the motocross bike crashed, and that was the end of 2019. Right. So I ended up missing 2 rounds in total, and I finished 6th still. So I had 9 podiums, one after another. Should have been 10, but the vinyl on the bottom of the belly pan at Donington come back, and the marshals thought the bike was on fire. Oh, okay. So I got black flagged. Oh, so, right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And how was that experience then? Right? Because I assume obviously it's competitive on the Isle of Man, but to go away, is there then just more strength and depth? What's it like?
Yeah, the depth of the field's a lot stronger, isn't it? It's they pull you on as well as a rider. Right. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Definitely, it's a different game when you go to the UK, to be honest. And you go to certain tracks, like Mikey said earlier, it's like you go there and people are track specialists. So like I'd class probably me and you as a Derby track specialist, because that's my home track. And people in that sort of championship, you'll go to one weekend and they'll be like right there, and then the following weekend they'll be like 10th. And like me, I just expect them to be there, like myself, at the front all the time, but it doesn't work that way, really.
Right. And what were you racing those? What are you on those series?
I rode a Triumph 675.
Right, okay.
Which is in the 600 class, basically.
Right, okay. Explain to me how you get an extra nut. How does that work?
It's 3 cylinders and 600s are 4, so that's...
Yeah, Matt, just in case you didn't know. But everyone's on different bikes. It's not, we talked earlier about the R6 Cup or whatever, but everyone's on their own bikes.
Yeah, everyone's on their own bikes, basically. Yeah.
Right, okay. And setting it up yourself.
Yeah.
Right, basically. Okay. And then, so that podium, those podiums you mentioned about the 9, is that, are you doing a couple of races each weekend? How does that work? How's that?
It was more going back to the tracks the second time, like later in the year. So like I found myself where I was going, like there's little things, like you just got to know certain bits on the track, like Cadwell, you go first go on the left and then there's a right up over the hill, but it's like the hill's like that, so you can't see the other side of the hill. Right. So for you to be this side of the hill, you have to be committed right over until the top of the hill, but the circuit like sort of comes back in on itself as well. So like you got to know, it's completely blind. You can't see over the top. So it's second time round, once you go there, and more confidence. And like I said to Mikey yesterday, it's like, it's a big confidence game. And then once I started to realize like where I should be in that championship is like towards the top, where I ended up at 2019 is when I started like believing in yourself a bit more. But it's like a big confidence game as well, I would say.
Right. And is that also the confidence of, aside from yourself, your bike?
Yeah, you got to have a lot of trust in your bike, definitely. You've almost got to predict what your bike's going to do before you do it. Like when you get on the power, you got to sort of predict how wide you're going to go, when you're going to brake, if it's going to lift the wheel, and yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, like you say, going back to similar to the TT, isn't it? You know, the more laps you do, the more confident and, you know the sort of boundaries.
Yeah.
And are you aware that, I mean, we talked earlier about when you first time go around the course in a competitive environment, as you say, on the parade lap. Appreciate you're probably still whacking it around, but that you won't be doing 120%, you'll be going 100% or 90%. Is that
for the TT? Yeah, definitely. I can easily take a step back on things like...
Back to what?
Yeah.
Michael was saying about, it's easy to take a step back.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Interesting. Right. So, did you mention about motocross injury? Generally, an injury. We won't talk about that particularly, unless you want to. I wanted to touch on. So, obviously, again, as an outsider, you look at any bike racing, you're all a bit mental, just on the speed, and more obviously the fallout, if there is a fallout off. And I know there's obviously a psychological game going on there somewhere, or you've got some screws loose, one of the two, or both. Just as an observer. But you were involved, Michael, in the accident that killed James Cowan.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to dwell, which is a very sad event, but that psychology to then back on a bike, whether that's the day later, a week later, which, the TT, you see it a day later, you see it hours later.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? And you personally, obviously everyone, I'm sure people deal with it differently, but how do you deal with that?
I don't know. It's a bit of it's quite.
I assume you knew him, and just not necessarily to dwell on James particularly, but you're a small community, so you ultimately know each other.
I don't know. I don't know. I find some of the older guys that, I don't know, maybe they're more used to it. Like, I do struggle with it quite a bit, to be fair. It's a bit of a mad thing, when you think about it, what is going on here. But I think I don't know, I think you kind of, how good it is, kind of just forces you back on. Yeah, it's just like I don't know, it's kind of quite a strange thing. It's like I see it as like a mental kind of challenge. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can do that, if I know the situation or whatever, and, you just kind of, you got to block out. It sounds so weird. Like, I don't, like afterwards, it does, you do think about it and stuff.
I was imagining a world would have an event like that, and it happens that there's almost this, like you said, head down, block out. But post, certainly if it's the TTO, an event like that, post, it must be some trauma where it's kind of, everything calms down, and you go back to normal life. You're putting, electrical gear in 2 days later, and you're like, fuck. Sorry. F me. I lost a friend 3 days ago, and just like. Yeah,
I mean, that went down something that like took a bit. That was pretty rough, to be fair. It did take me a while to kind of. It wasn't even like should I get on a bike again? That kind of thing. It was just to get over what happened, kind of thing. I know obviously there's guys in worse situations than I was in, but in a way they were not lucky. I wouldn't say lucky, but I was conscious and aware of what was going on. Whereas like Ivan Linton, he was like not in a good way, but he didn't have to see him. Do you know what I mean? I was sat on the wall and I could see everything that happened, kind of thing. And so I would prefer my situation than his, definitely. But that's like a different side of like, he had really bad injuries, but it's like, there's not like, you don't forget that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not even it took me a while I thought, I need to forget about it. Just forget like it happened. But it's not even that, like there's no, you go through like Stadium Corner, just driving. I drive, however many times, like a week or whatever. Like it's like a thing that it's not like a flashback what happened, but you're like, I know what happened there. But it's not, it's just like that's what happened there. Not as in like completely block out of my mind, because it's not possible. So it took me a while with that kind of thing. And then like kind of going back to Southern the year after, it was kind of like on a motocross bike, you crash. Or on any bike, you crash. Best way of getting over it is just do it again. As in like, crash on a corner, attack the corner the same as what you would, kind of like. So it was kind of that thing. It was like,
was that conscious thought the first time down to there, the next time? It
was kind of like, can I do this? Am I not tough enough? But you know what I mean? Can I mentally, do that? Am I going to go through the very first lap of practice and then pull in straight away and say, I can't do this, which is, it's just to, I might have, but it's just to see what, more of a, can you do this kind of thing? Because I kind of think like McGuinness and that, they've got to do it. So if I'm not willing to do that, then I'm never going to be as good as what they are, kind of thing. And like that was pretty like rough year of like Dan and that, because I was kind of in that, I was like in that area when I wasn't anywhere near him, but we were like stopped behind. We had to kind of go through afterwards, and Adam Lyons crashed as well, one of the super sport races. So that was kind of, but you kind of go through that situation. I don't know what happened, but obviously I found out afterwards that he passed away. And then you go through it, and then get around the corner and you go flat out again. And when you think about it now, it's just like, so, like, what are you doing? You know, someone's just passed away. They're doing what you're doing. Stop being an idiot. But you either pull in or you keep on going. And if you keep on going, you need to concentrate.
Right.
So it's, yeah, but it's
Is there a belief in each one of you that it's not about being someone else, but it won't be you? Or you just don't think about it? I appreciate it's a prickly subject, and like I'm sure some motorcyclists. Obviously, it's one of the big questions that I'm sure people ask you. Like,
but people say you're not scared of dying, but everyone's going to die. Do you know what I mean? Are you scared of dying? But you know, what do you say to that? Are you scared of dying? Who isn't?
Not to pull really more, but if it was the other way around and you were the one off the side of the mountain, would you be saying to the boys, "You carry on racing"?
Yeah. Crack on.
So I always kind of think that's the thing. I crashed my push bike yesterday and I got hit by a car, I'd like to think people will go, just carry on riding on the roads. Yeah, it's risky, but you enjoy riding the bike more than the risk.
Yeah, well, you can't expect to race at those speeds and for things not to happen. So if you're willing to, you know, I'm not going to say that that's not a possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility, because you have to obviously take that into consideration before you choose to do that. And that's like, it's like anything taken into consideration before you do it. So if you don't, then you're an idiot. You know, like, I've been around TT long enough to know that people die at TT. That's just a fact. You don't have to, people like like that. That's what happens. Don't, you know, either if you're worried about it, if you're that worried about it, don't do the TT. If you can deal with it, it's your choice. You know, it's like, I could go down Bray Hill and pull into Clawbridge, or I could keep on going. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no, but you just have to know before you do TT that you could die.
Have you had many spills on the road bike outside of your motocross and all over the place?
I've not, at the minute, I've not had many big crashes. Just losing the front, I've not high-sided yet.
That's not a bad thing.
Touching wood. But yeah, I've not had a big one yet.
Right. Well, no, maybe you never will.
Well.
And what's your outlook from what Mikey was saying? Are you similar, or not think about it?
Don't really think about it, to be honest, and what happens at the end of the day. It's your choice, isn't it? If you want to go do it, and it's definitely more risk than not doing it.
But it sounds similar to when we speak with other people. It's about that control, that before you've even gone on the bike, you've put the hours in, you've got everything there, you know, to the best of your ability. You are safe and comfortable on that, and that's what you're thinking about. You know,
I think that's like where, like, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but like fitness is a big. You know, I'm not like the fittest person in the world, but like as a big thing, so I just think if I'm fit, then I'll be less tired, so my brain will be more switched on. And just like I said, I don't just try not to switch off, like never be complacent. You get to Hilbury, you think I'm home, but you're not. You know, you think that kind of thing. It's just like, so like trying to be as fit as I can. It's like, there's no other reason for me to do it than it's like to be as good as I can, but also safe as I can. Just so my body's good, which means my brain is going to be switched on, which means I'm not going to make a mistake. That's how I see it. You know, trying to, you know, like, so you
talked
think
about that week. I don't know whether we were on air earlier about that first week of the TT and then that first race where you don't. I wouldn't say you're mentally drained and you're like, you take a break.
Just take a.
That's a good conscious thought process to have, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like. Risk awareness. People think like, you know, racers are idiots and stuff, but that is it. There's like a risk versus reward. That's it. And you think like all the races in Ireland and stuff, for me, the reward isn't good enough for the risk that you have to take. So I'm not going to do them. Right. For me, the TT, the reward is big enough reward for the risk. That's how I weigh things up, you know. And it's the same as every single bit when you ride around track, like to go through there flat out, the reward you get out from the risk. Each bit, and that's like, you know, you say how you get quicker and stuff. That's like the same kind of thing. Like, got to risk quite a lot to get through this corner flat out. What will get out of it? So that's that's like one of those, another thing to add to it. But
the body setting off number one in the newcomers. I always think the first person on the road's just because they're just waiting for a hen to be on the road or something.
When the newcomers, there was no issues. It was weird though because I didn't see anybody.
Right.
You just set off. Obviously, you know, I'm used to racing like a normal race. You're on a grid with everybody. You start. You see somebody. Someone comes past you. You catch up. So whatever. You're just racing. You kind of get to a point where you're like, is this like a weird world where I'm just here on my own? Do you know what I mean? You're just like, is there anybody else on the track? It's such a strange thing because you know what I mean? There's no kind of...
Especially maybe you might see the odd one pull in or that far ahead.
Well,
I suppose it's a minute.
Yeah, well, like I think I had like 20 odd seconds. So it's kind of like, just don't see anybody. It's just dead weird. You kind of come back. But the senior, I set off first. And I remember I came through towards Griever Bridge and I seen like a rabbit run across. It wasn't like across in front of me, but it was in the front of the road. And I was like, that's not that handy. And then through Kate's Cottage, I remember came through and there's like what do you call a bunch of birds? Flock of birds?
Depends on the type of bird, I think.
A group of small birds, anyway. And they like, I came around the corner and they just like shot up in the air and I put my head down. Like, I don't think I hit any of them, but you know, you're like, okay, now, because you're the first person to scare us in the way kind of thing. Because I know that there was a video of Gary Johnson a few years ago.
Yeah, I took out a screen.
Yeah.
So the picture up there, 14, that's Carl Rennie. I took that picture coming, well, I'm sure you know where that is, don't you?
Yeah, just before Gorse Lake.
Yeah. So when you look up close, there's a V shape out of his helmet and a bird hit him straight in the face. And I just happened to catch the photo. I didn't even know until I got home.
Really?
And I caught him in the face,
Yeah, if you guys hit birds, I wouldn't want to hit like that picture of Hutchie with a seagull in his neck. Yeah, that's on Yamaha.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
I wouldn't want to hit a bird like a seagull or anything, but yeah, that would be too great.
That's the thing it's always think about that, because I think it was many years ago, there was the Formula One, as it was back then, was moved, and I'm sure to another day, and I'm sure they were lucky. I think it was around that time, was racing, I'm sure it came on the circuit, someone just backed out of the driveway onto the circuit like 20 seconds before he was due, because he just hadn't realised the day had been moved. You know, bearing in mind the roads have suddenly gone quiet for an hour outside his house.
That's a little thing that worries me when I think about it. If I'm there, then you can't think about it, else you're just not going to, it's just pointless.
At least you know there's no oil on the road, I guess that's the plus side.
But it's, you just get like, you know, like mental people over here, like grannies or whatever, and you think, they could just drive onto the road. They have no idea what's going on. You know, you see someone driving the wrong way down Athol Street, you're like, you're mental. You know, something crazy could happen, but you can't think about it when you're on the start line, because but, you know, when you see some mad Manx drivers, it kind of freaks you out. But
the road's open car going down there. You know, so it does happen, doesn't it, sadly?
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about different types of bikes, because we mentioned before, obviously, a couple of years of wasted years of dirty COVID. You're due to race the BMW. Is that the first time you'd have raced BMWs?
When I 2018, I jumped on it, and that was the first big bike I ever rode.
Right, okay.
So I just went from 750 that I rode the senior. Manx was the biggest bike I'd rode, and then to the BM in start of 2018.
Massively different when you jump between bikes? Bike manufacturers, that is.
I've only ever rode one. That's the only big bike I've ever rode. I rode a Suzuki, actually, but they've all got their own.
So the 600, what was that you were on? What make was that?
Honda.
Yeah, okay. So but would that, I appreciate 750 would handle differently anyway from a 600, but the fact it was a BMW 750, would it be different?
It was a BMW 1000.
Oh, 1000, sorry, sorry.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Once you jump onto 1000, that's like another world.
Right.
Completely different. Like,
let alone the power, it's the manufacturer as well. More about the power
more the power, I think, because obviously, like the Suzuki, like Jamie's got Suzuki, it's kind of similar. You know, Suzuki, all the thousands now are similar. There's like the same kind of thing.
Okay.
There's just different areas where they're stronger and weaker and that kind of thing, but it's more just the sheer speed of them, because you know, like even the 750 was like 150, 60 brake, which is still quite a bit. But then you jump onto like the BM, it's like 200, and they are like literally like
hanging on over things.
Yeah, like rockets. And, you know, like Jamie rode today for the first time since October. The first time you get back on them, you're like, this is insane. You can't control it and stuff. They are that fast. It's such a big step, especially at the TT. You know, I was saying, like flat out down Bray Hill and stuff, like a 600. Like in my head now, I can be, that's not easy, but you know, it's fine. I can do it. But I don't know how they do it on big bikes. Like it is literally warp speed for me.
What makes you choose to go up then? Do you ride those 600s and feel very comfortable, or do you feel, I don't want to say that, like you've mastered how to ride a 600? What makes you then think, I want to go higher, whether it's 1,000 or even when you jump to a 600, like
to begin with, it's kind of 600 is kind of the intermediate class, so it's really strong field and stuff like that. But like for the 1,000, obviously it's the quickest bikes you can ride. So everyone always wants to ride the fastest that kind of thing. But at the TT, it's the top, isn't it? You know, you can win the super sport, but winning the super sport isn't the same as winning the senior, and you can't win the senior on the 600. So it's, do you know what I mean? Like and you get the 3 races at the TT. So the big bikes are the kind of
But your biker's instinct to ride something more powerful, stronger, faster. Is that the reason to move up?
That's it. You see,
when you look at your plans to just ride 600, I think lightweight.
Yeah.
Is the long-term ambition to get on 1,000?
Yeah, long-term definitely go to 1,000 as well as, but obviously TT is too much to learn to go between 3 bikes, definitely. And I know how much of a handful 1,000 is, and it's just, I'm not willing myself to go down Braille on 1,000 in my first year. You can put yourself off quite fast.
That takes I could have been put off in 2018. It is like another world completely. It's not even the same thing. It's so strange. Like just because the speed of them, you know, the kind of a 600
pick up a bit slower. I'd assume 600s pick up a bit quicker just because they're a bit nimbler and smaller. No.
Like maybe the older stuff, but now like the big bikes are just like
rocket ships.
Yeah, completely. They're insane, really. Yeah. But the thing is, like on a 600 at the TT, because it's like obviously you flat out quite a bit, you kind of get to a point where you are flat out, and the bike's not really doing much because you're flat out. You know, it's not pulling and stuff. But on the big bikes, like for someone my size, I'm less than 70 kilograms. It's always pulling. So you're 5th gear, 6th gear, and it's still trying to pull out your arms, and you're like, you know, you're going 150 miles an hour, and it's not like, you know, like a car when it kind of runs out of power. It's not like that. It just keeps on. Right. You know, there is a point, but like that point is
then it's all be straight.
You know, close to 200 miles an hour. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's crazy to think, like when we're racing and stuff, you're like 5th gear and the front end's coming up. It's absolutely crazy, but it's crazy that you even ride them on the TT, but you do.
So we're on 1,000 today then?
600 and 1,000.
Right. So you're doing 1,000 on the short circuit?
I've only raced 1,000 here, and I've raced 1,000 as well once, at the end of, it'll be the end of 18 at Anglesey Grand in Wales. But yeah, I don't really, we've got a spare 600, so when we go away, we just do the 600 class because that's what I'm comfortable with. It's what I like. 600, you can ride them. 1,000,
they ride
you.
You hold on.
Yeah. So
there is that desire to get to there eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I don't think I want to get on one.
Like there's a few, like there's a lot of people who kind of think, oh, I'll get a big bike because there's more power, so it'll be easier because you just go slow through the corners. But it's, you know, because they think you can go slow through the corners and then go fast down the straights, so your time's going to be the same. Yeah. But that's not how it is anymore. You go and you're riding, like last year we were riding the big bikes the same as we ride the 600s. You know, it's not like that anymore. You can't just ride a big bike and go slow around corners and then go quicker down the straights. You know, like especially like,
as in you've got to carry the corner speed as well.
Yeah, it's just like you ride them as hard as you can. There's no kind of turn in mid corner and just accelerating down the straight. But
and I assume then on the TT course racing a 600 to a big bike, like they're just appreciating they're probably wheeling all over the place, but there's more just
for the big bike.
Yeah.
They're just like a 600 is really nice to ride. You know, you can kind of, you could like say you can control it, you can put it where you want, and if it's not handling, you can kind of make it to a degree, make it go where you want to go. Whereas big bike, it has to be working. If it doesn't want to go there, then it's not going there. If it wants to shake, it's going to shake. The thing I found is you wheelie more because you're carrying more speed. Things that on a 600 you just ride over because it's not really a rise. The TT, you'll hit one thing and you wheeling or you jump off something that you're not, like I've got a picture and I'm jumping over Aggo's Leap. Like I didn't even think that was a thing. Like before TT, I'd only ever, you wheelie there and that's what I thought you would do. But on the BM, you hit it that fast, actually 2 wheels off the ground. You're like, why is that a jump now? It's just crazy. So just stuff like that, which, like I said, makes it a different kind of completely different ball game to a 600. You can, spend half a lap with the front wheel in the air, pretty much, which is crazy.
Jamie? You a big? Obviously, just listen as you talk about the TT in general. I say a big fan of it, but you watched it through all your growing up. I get that impression.
Yeah, since a kid.
So where would you go watching? Outside of giving bad signs at Lamphell.
Anywhere I could get. Mainly as I was a kid, I used to just cycle anywhere with my mates. Like, lucky enough, I grew up with a load of lads that were into it as well. So every practice would be Bray Hill, Braddon Bridge, up towards Signpost, just all around like Douglas area really. And then I used to go camp sometimes with a friend Dan Ramsey and then watch at Milltown Bridge. Just anyway.
Always watching it.
Yeah, always watched it.
And were you then? So who do? I mean, McGuinness is still around now, but so what? If we're talking 10 years ago, I guess you'd be watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so McGuinness is kind of 08. I think he did 130, didn't he? Somewhere like that.
07 was it? The centenary.
Right, right. So it was that kind of era.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like we've pretty much grown up with McGuinness winning.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Boy.
And all the time at that young age watching it, it was, I want to do that.
Not really at the time. I just loved it anyway, but I didn't think I'd get a road racing license. That's why I didn't start until I was 18.
Right.
I thought I was going to have to jump through a couple of hoops to be able to get a license, but then ended up not being that way.
Right.
And I applied for it and then I got it straight away. And as soon as I got it, I knew what my goal was straight away. That was it. Like, I was there getting my signatures everywhere, doing as much as possible to get them, because with the Manx, I don't know about the TT, but with the Manx, you've got to be, is it 16 months? I think you got to hold the national.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's over a year. It's nearly a year and a half. You got to hold your license before you can go to the Manx. But then obviously the Manx isn't the route I've taken, gone to TT. But yeah.
How annoying! I look back when COVID started, and it was around March, wasn't it, when it kind of started, and then it was like, oh, will the TT go ahead? And they cancelled it, which at the time I think everyone was like, whoa, that's a massive decision. Which, look back now, it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I'd imagine you were absolutely gutted.
Yeah, I was in tuition with so for your mountain course license as a newcomer at the TT, you got to do 5 laps under tuition.
Okay.
So I was under Johnny Barton, and then I was set to do laps with Milky. So I'd done 3 with Johnny, and we were just talking.
Is that in a car? How do they work?
Yeah, just in a car, basically. He goes around, tells you all the pointers, and at the end of each lap, he signs a bit of paper. Then at the end of it, I've got to send it off, and then you get your mountain license. And,
so there's no sleeping in the back of the car then?
No sleeping, unfortunately. So that's where we are. Where was I?
To get in the signatures, you need those 5.
Yeah.
Oh, and we were talking about knowing it was going to get cancelled.
Yeah, so we were talking, and I was like, nah, it's going to go ahead. There's no chance it's not going to not go ahead. And he was sounding quite positive, so obviously I was positive about it because he sounded positive, and then got cancelled.
Andy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, at the time it felt like how can they cancel such a thing? And then it's like many things. It's like they probably told us, oh, we're going to sit in our house, and we're like, no, we're not. Yeah, it's such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
So would you back then, like even when you were watching it as a kid, would you be looking at lap times? And like I look back when I was watching a kid and be like, oh, I know they can get to Glenelg in, well, back then it was probably 5 minutes 30, that type of thing. Was it that type of fandom?
Not really, no. But the year,
some Stellas and watching them.
Yeah, the year McGuinness did 130, like that was the year where like you were watching to see if we would do it, because obviously everyone was always talking about it, and then obviously it happened.
Yeah, it was unreal. It's hard to believe that's like, what's that, 14 years ago now?
No. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It is when you think about it, but that's how it is.
So if you didn't, I mean, you obviously both in biking, do other sports? You do other, obviously you've done a little bit of biking, but
yeah,
you do other,
I really
keeping fit wise.
No, anything with two wheels. Love cycling. Right. Yeah, anything with two wheels. Anything with wheels, really.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, same, two wheels. Anything, love it. And I've started karting up Derby last year. Like towards the end of it, and like they do like a winter series and stuff, but it didn't end up going ahead this year. But you can get quite a lot of track time up there, and like I look at it as like you can go up there and mentally keep your mind going, because I've got a lap timer, so it tells me my lap time each lap and stuff like that, and I know where I should be and what lap I should be doing. So like I'm there chasing my tail still all the time, trying to keep like your brain going to the time what I know I can do. So I'm still constantly chasing around.
And is that on the main track? Just the smaller circuit.
It's like the motocross as well. Like at the moment where, because like I wasn't going to do anything this year because obviously I didn't think we'd get away. So I'm just kind of holding back till we can get away. But like with motocross and stuff, like me, Ryan and Jamie were kind of going down, and we're all fairly similar, whatever. But we just have this kind of like sessions that we do. So we do like 20-minute sessions. And the fastest person starts last. Right. We just go for 20 minutes. And then you kind of, the track that we've got down Derby, you just gauge off each other. It just gives you something to push for. And it's like, I'm just using that as something to keep me motivated and keep me kind of sharp for when I go road racing. And like, you can't really get much better than fitness for motocross. It's not really a lot, which is as difficult in your, like you cycle, but I feel like it's from your waist down. Like motocross, it's just absolutely everything, and you kind of got to be more. Well, it's mentally a bit more tough as well. But yeah, I like cycling. I love the cycling.
Do you not Derby series?
I don't know. That was hard. That was. I was supposed to be doing that one. I was supposed to be doing that one tomorrow, but it's going to rain, so I'm fair weather rider.
Which one's that tomorrow? Oh, it's postponed.
Oh, is it?
Postponed,
Great.
Really up for that as well. Just shaved your legs for it and everything.
Till when?
Yeah. I think it's to the end of May. It's the May bank holiday now.
I'll have to get some practicing.
Yeah. What was the question I was going to ask? So you mentioned electrician. What do you do day to day, Jamie?
First year apprentice plumber.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah, changed careers a bit late, but
they're going all right.
Yeah, it's going good. Yeah, good.
I was getting some work done here. Appreciate the listeners don't want to know this, but you have to have to get a plumber in now. Like in the olden days, you'd just be like calling me mate Jimmy in, but you have to have a I say proper qualification. I don't mean plumbers didn't, but now they like electricians. You had to have that. Whatever. Yeah. It's the same with plumbing now, I believe.
Yeah, like gas or...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Going the right way with that, I think, because that's just more money for us punters to pay you a lot to fix our...
Can we mess around with gas?
So, Mikey, you were talking about potentially racing this year. Who knows? What does this year hold now? So we're in the start of May. Is the plans? Is it just still holding pattern and see?
Yeah, it's up to the government really.
Right.
I would say I'd done Derby last year, and it was good to do Derby. Like me and Jamie had probably some of the best races I've ever had anywhere. But this year, the money that I spend this year is going to take away from my whole plan. Basically, was to just do motocross to keep me sharp, and then the money that I don't spend this year on racing is, I'd hit next year. Yeah. Flat out. But now, obviously, they've kind of made the announcement that we might get away in July. Hopefully. I don't know. So there's a lot to be done a lot you can do between July and October.
Right.
Road racing.
There is or isn't?
There is.
There is.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just kind of holding back at the moment, hoping that we can go, come July, kind of get over to the UK and just do as much as I can.
What kind of events will they be there?
Same as what Jamie was saying, there's Thundersport and No Limits, which are the two steps below BSB.
Right.
And I did a BSB in 2019.
Right.
I don't even know what year we're in. Yeah.
I know, yeah. Good to know
2019. Did I? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
2019.
did we?
So yeah, but like I'd never done a BSP before, and I did Silverstone, and then I did Alton Park.
Right.
So I'd like to do more of those because I feel like that is, those guys are, that's as high as you can get, as in that stock 1,000 is obviously British superbikes, but I wouldn't do that. But I feel like I can run in somewhere, not near the front, but I wouldn't be last basically. Yeah. I don't think, but it would just be nice to have said that I've done it.
Yeah.
At least had a go at a BSB or two. But again, that's difficult when you can't just go to a track you've not been to before. Yeah. So like Alton Park, I would only go there because I've done that a few times. So I just want to build up on a few tracks that I've not really, just a load of tracks I've only been to either once or not at all. So I would, and like with the TT, I have to think about how much that's going to cost.
Right.
Whereas obviously when it comes to like July, I don't have to worry about that because I have the winter to prepare.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can, it's not like if I don't have the money, then I can't race. Whereas I always have to think I have to have the money for TT.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's, hopefully that'll be enough to, so I'll be able to do a reasonable amount of riding, then carry that on to next year, hopefully go to Spain and then,
right.
Because TT is really early in the road racing because for most people, you don't start till end of March really.
Right.
April, so you've got
4 weeks in
April. April, May.
Yeah.
You only got really the first week or so in May. Then you're into the TT, so it's you kind of can't start a season like I normally used to, where you just kind of March, April, do whatever. Whereas the Manx, you've got the whole year to prepare, so you kind of have to lead one year onto the next year.
Right.
So that's what I want to do.
And back in 19, you would, I say due, but due to do the TT for Will Cox.
Yeah.
You had a spill at the pre-classic, is that right?
Yeah.
And then so you didn't do 19.
No, so I'd done the first night of practice.
Right. Oh yeah, and then down there.
Then down there, big old high side. It wasn't big.
Right.
Broke my collarbone anyway. And then
how good?
I was in tears. I was absolutely good because
I bet you even woke up at one point and go, I could probably just hold the bars. One of them.
It was like
gaffer tape.
I broke my collarbone. I broke my collarbone before, so I knew it was broken and landed, and I was like, it's not broke. I was like, this isn't happening. This is not happening. I was like, I'm trying to convince myself that it wasn't broke, but it's broke. So missed that TT. And
you annoyed with yourself for going to do that event?
No, because I just don't. There's no point. There's no point in regretting what you're doing, because if it was that much regret, then you shouldn't have done it in the first place. You're like thinking about it now, I wouldn't do it again. But why worry about it now that I did it? But then then I was fine for the classic, and then broke my collarbone down on the motocross bike 2 weeks before, so I missed the classic. That's why I was so more gutted about. Well, obviously not more gutted than anybody, but the TT being cancelled, because I feel like I had a bad 18. 19 I missed, so it's like, right, I put all my effort in over the winter. I was as strong as I've ever been, ready to go, whatever. Went to Spain, so I was kind of ahead of where I normally would be. Then they cancelled the TT, and I was like, Jesus, man. So
is the plan to still, I use the word on his books, still there to race with for Wilcox as and when that gets going? It's kind of tough when obviously there's not really a lot going on. They've been, good enough to keep the bikes for me, because they could have easily just gave them to an English person, and because if the bikes are in England, it's so easy for them to let somebody ride them who's in England. They could be racing now, so they have been good enough to keep the bikes for me. So hopefully we can get going in July, and just carry it all the way through and straight into TT, and that's the plan. But, 2022. And the same with yourself then, Jamie, the borders open, get away, do a bit of racing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to race here, and then as soon as I open, I'll be straight to the UK. First boat out if I can on the first weekend.
Is that all self-funded, from family dishing in? And
family basically, funded,
It's such a most expensive sport, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap, is it?
Is it van sleeping as well, sleeping in the back of the van and stuff, or a bit more sophisticated
nowadays? Got the
nowadays?
Of a race truck, so can't really say I'm in the back of the van. So
posh knobs here.
But
Are you doing the Dan Neen event in TT Week?
The 24 hour? I don't know.
You both got road bikes, haven't you?
I don't know if I've got the legs for
You
it.
ride with Anna last year when you did that event.
Yeah.
She probably gave you a kick in, I presume, probably.
She rode next to me, so I didn't even get any wind to her. I was slipstream with her.
I got a kick in.
Did you ride with Roachy, did you?
No, Sam.
Oh, right, yeah. Another pro, yeah. Right.
I've never gone as fast in my life. I think my heart rate peaked like 209. Something crazy like that. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, well, you should be doing that 24-hour thing then. If not, I'll have your camper.
Yeah.
That'll be. I'll do one of the hours.
Yeah, I'll do one.
And then rest of the other 23.
Yeah, it'll be tough that.
I think one of the things I mentioned, just as we wrap up, I think it'd be really interesting if you're up for it, Jamie, as you're coming into to do a couple of podcasts, just kind of leading into kind of how the lead into the first CT and then during it as well, to kind of have an audio story of those experiences. Because I'd imagine those first times down Bray Hill in a race environment, and that first eyes on stalks, as they say, it must be
Yeah.
even
definitely.
for your own, when you look back at your memories and think I can hardly remember any of them, to
Yeah.
have those even for your own, let alone
Yeah.
our satisfaction of listening and that going through that experience with
Yeah.
you, to you to be able to look back in 20 years and go,
Yeah, I'd definitely be up for that, yeah.
yes, that'd be good. So no, thanks for coming down, guys. Appreciate
no
it.
worries,
Really
thank you very
fascinating. We always love a
Thanks,
good
Joe.
bit of TT chat.
Do have a question?
couple of
coming in.
questions, yeah.
It's going to be handy.
Yeah, whether this is a PG answer or not, but one for Michael. Why are you called the Sanson Slayer?
It's who's your man up there? They're up at Derby. I don't know if you've watched recently. They give people nicknames. So Ryan, James' brother, was the Balthane Bullet.
Oh, all right.
What are you? Have you got a name?
I don't think I got a nickname.
You need to get a nickname. I lived in Santon, so I was a Santon Slayer. That's
Just still that pop from
nothing. It's nothing weird.
Where are you from originally? On the Alps? Douglas.
You're from Peel, after the day.
Just down for the day. Just down for sunset.
I'm thinking of a Juggernaut Jamie, I don't know.
There you go.
Have a few spills, maybe crash a Cringle.
Yeah.
That's probably the closest we can
Yeah,
get. Maybe
probably.
don't have a few spills. Yeah. Take away from that.
Fingers crossed.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys, for coming down. Appreciate it.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
To
you.
wrap up.
Yeah. So wherever you're listening or watching today, please like, share, subscribe, and leave those 5-star reviews, pretty please. Social, Facebook, the M Word Podcast, Twitter, M Word Podcast with the number 1, and then Instagram, we are the M Word IOM.
Thanks for listening. It's word out from Martin.
And word out from Matt.